The regular season is over and the coaching carousel is spinning. We're going to break it all down today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy Tuesday to you here on the show.
Thank you.
Lots of league-wide changes are underway. We're going to talk about them. Head coaching changes not made, coordinator changes. We didn't get any of the general manager changes after Atlanta dismissed
I don't think
Terry
so.
Fontenot on Sunday night.
No.
So we got, 6 head coaching vacancies, 2 general manager vacancies.
Yeah, I remember some of those takes that we entertained throughout the course of the season that was like, I think we get less than 5 or, they're just always going to be there, right?
Well, when you lose, 14 out of 15 for Jonathan Gannon, and you spend all your resources on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball is really bad. Like, I get it. So, I did enjoy the report that he had a very inspirational parting message to his team. As I'm sitting here thinking about shots to Rondale, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that was a really galvanizing final message for Jonathan Gannon in Arizona.
Listen, I mean, for as many times as we get the reports that players found out through the ESPN ticker or something like that, and I don't really know what the right way for all that to happen is. I'm sure it's very difficult. At least we can't say that about the Arizona Cardinals. And
I think it's great to give a final opportunity to address your team. And
yes,
on a serious note, I do think that is very cool for the teams that do allow that to happen because of the amount of time, obviously, that these groups have spent together, right? As they've all been working towards a goal, even if it hasn't been successful. So 6, Arizona moved yesterday off of Jonathan Gannon. That was the last one, right? From a timeline perspective.
I think so.
We had Pete Carroll out in Las Vegas to the surprise of very few. What else happened yesterday?
Kevin Stefanski with the Browns.
And that was the first one, but that was so assumed. That's why it was kind of like drawing a blank. It's because you heard his Friday press conference before the last game, and the reporter was like, "Hey, Kevin, I just want you to know," and I'm not going to call him some random guy because I think it'd be really disrespectful. Yeah, if I was talking to a coach and just refer to somebody, some random guy.
Yeah.
The reporter was like, I don't have a question for you. I just want you to know I think you dealt with a lot of really tough stuff this year.
Oh, really?
And Kevin was like, yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's about the team. It's never about one person, myself included. And that's all he said. It was he didn't push back on it at all. I was like, not great vibes that we're moving, that we're going to stick with it in Cleveland. But yeah, that Stefanski was the first shoe to drop yesterday.
And then, of course, Raheem Morris in Atlanta couldn't wait to let the world know about that on Sunday. It's like, No, we're not getting to Monday. We're going to let you know right now.
Yep.
That Raheem's out of here. So that those 4 plus the Titans and Giants, we'll speculate about some of the potential additional vacancies later on in the episode. But I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you and kind of work through to consider these openings, these decisions.
Yeah.
The first question I have is, do you disagree with any of these?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't either.
I think you have a chance if you're Cleveland to see Stefanski go be successful somewhere else.
Yeah.
But you and I talked, what was it, yesterday off after the show? And it was like, sometimes just who you are in a market and who you are in an environment, you can't wipe away, right? Like that's just who you are. Like the coach in Cleveland is Kevin Stefanski. It is who it is. And if you're going to be successful, I think a different environment with different conditions is probably needed. But I think he's the one, as I reflect on these guys, that I think has the best chance to be a successful coach somewhere else. But I don't think that was going to be the case in Cleveland.
I think if I were to disagree with anything, it's not that any of these coaches in particular were let go. I understand all of them. It's some of the timelines that are now going to be staggered between general managers and head coaches, and mostly Andrew Berry with the Cleveland Browns. And I know that there's a lot of redeeming things about the draft class that he just assembled, but if you zoom out and look at the big picture, it's been an absolute disaster for Andrew Berry. And not only is he safe, like he's leading the search
and more responsibility than he's had in years past.
Which is interesting. I think you're seeing more and more of this. The Titans, like the head coach is going to report to the general manager. I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of right and wrong ways to do it. There's something about a head coach that reports to a general manager that just doesn't sit right with me.
And that didn't used to be the case, right? Like that used to be, I feel like it swung back and forth, but I don't feel like it was popular for a while to have a linear chain of command. And then it was. And then, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's kind of gone in a circle with what front office structure has been like.
Right. And I think you'll be able to point to successful instances with a lot of different structures, but something about a coach that reports to a GM it just doesn't sit well with me. Another question go ahead.
I want to remind me to come back to that when we get to segment 3.
Okay. I was going to ask you if any of these surprised you, but the fact that we don't really disagree on any of it, I don't think there were any surprises. So the other question I had is, which one of these coaches had the most contributing factors outside of their control that ultimately led to them being dismissed?
So it's Pete Carroll, Jonathan Gannon.
Well, for Pete Carroll, shouldn't we look at that situation and feel like there's a lot of responsibility on him for Geno Smith coming in, for the Chip Kelly hire?
Well, I don't think the Chip Kelly hire, like that was a Tom Brady hire.
Was it really?
So like there's a whole, like Tom Brady's influence in a lot of that is challenging. And if you're Pete, I get it, right? Like you had a sabbatical year as what would be the oldest coach in football. Like you don't have a lot of beggars can't be choosers. If you want to keep coaching, right? Like that's the kind of situation you walk into. And you also had like Spytek was Brady's buddy and like they were more committed to a long-term build and Pete wanted to win now. And this felt like a bad fit from the beginning, right? Like our expectation when that hire was made was like, okay, he can help instill like a positive culture there, but that's never going to be a long-term fix.
Right. My expectations, especially when it was a 3-year contract, was, all right, Pete's a stabilizing figure. Let's get something foundationally set up. Let's hopefully have some type of coach that we can groom to succeed Pete and get this thing on track and find some level of stability here. And to go down that road of thought that you have conflicting plans where you have a win now coach with a long-term outlook from the ownership and general manager, that's always going to be difficult.
Yeah. Diana Rossini, November 26th, had Tom Brady believed to have wielded the strongest influence in Chip Kelly's hiring.
Oh, geez. Well, okay.
So I don't think that's the number one outside of your control. But I do think there were things that happened there that were not Pete Carroll's direct hand that led to it. I think Gannon might have the most like things that were his, like all these personnel moves on defense. I know they got hurt. I know he didn't pick Kyler Murray, so like I'm sensitive to that part of it too. But like they were kind of in lockstep organizationally, right? Like Austin Fort and him came in at the same time.
Ossenfort survives.
Ossenfort does survive. Is it Stefanski?
Well, it depends on how much credit you give him for the Deshaun Watson trade.
Well, that was Jimmy Haslam wanted to do that trade.
Well, then I would say it's 100% Stefanski.
Like Jimmy Haslam came out like last year and was like pretty much like took the L on it and was like, there's some circumstances and kind of, you don't want to say he gave everybody a pass, but then also like the way that they've handled the salary cap and bleeding these contracts far past their expiration date to keep a bunch of old offensive linemen. Spoiler alert, guys, they all got hurt.
Yeah.
But you couldn't move on because of how you restructured their contract, however many times over. And you're top one in the league in cash spend over that period of time. And it's like they're top 3 every year in cash spend because they're trying to outspend and get out in front of it. So
I think it is Stefanski. And he's the only one that you really look at as a guy that might have another chance to go be someone else's head coach.
Right.
All right, yeah, more to do. We'll talk big surprises. We'll talk about the lingering situations out there and a whole lot more. So, folks, be sure to stick with us. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in-network, nearby, with availability, but also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next stop. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. I love that you can search for specialty or symptoms and quickly find the right fit. You can choose in-person or video visits. That's going to make the scheduling way easier. You can also check verified patient reviews to get a real sense of the doctor's vibe and communication style, and they have real-time availability, which means you can book instantly. There's no phone tag. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. And thank you to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Hey, guys, the draft picks positions are set, and so many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Have you ever wished to become a pro quarterback getting drafted first overall by your favorite team? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you'll step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 QB career mode game on mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. You can sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry, and evolve your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a quarterback career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head on over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we got something special for you guys. Use our promo code LOCKEDON in all caps in the game store to get a free boost and start your career. Ultimate QB, football legend QB1, it's your legacy. Kyle, you are on mute, but welcome into this next segment of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
It's been a long 48 hours. Final thought on the Stefanski note. Since 2020, number 1 cash spending team in the NFL is who?
The Browns.
Cleveland Browns. $1.7 billion in cash over the last since 2020. So 1.703. San Francisco is number 2 at 1.638. The Buffalo Bills number 3 at 1.635. So Cleveland, far and away, number 1.
Who was number 2?
The San Francisco 49ers are number 2.
All right. Yeah,
Do you, as a follow-up to this, courtesy of Justice Mosqueda, do you know what team has spent the most and what team has spent the least millions of dollars per win over the last 5 years?
I think it's the Rams last, right?
So the Rams are number 6.
Oh.
Because when you include the playoffs, there's teams that have 20 and 26 more wins than the Rams do.
Oh.
And the Rams also had, they were like number 1 in cash spend in 2022. So they kind of got juiced up on that.
The Raiders? But they don't win very much. So wins per.
They don't spend and they don't win.
So you want this beautiful formula of low cost, but lots of wins.
Or high cost and almost more wins than everybody else. Because the Buffalo Bills are number 2 on the list.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty good
least
spending,
amount
right?
per win. 20, it's like $20.4 million per win the Bills have spent for 80 wins since 2020. The Chiefs are number 1 because they won 85 games.
Okay, so that's really what they played the most games, won the most.
Right.
Yeah.
The New York Jets are last. They spend more than $51 million per win in a 5-year sample size.
What a data point.
Versus $17.5 million for Kansas City per win.
Yeah. Well, those are, I mean, boy, $17.5 million a win. You got 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And as perfectly balanced as all things should be, dead center, middle of the pack is the Miami Dolphins.
Ah, yes. Right where we want to be. Yeah.
Right in the middle of the pack.
as your wife's wedding vows to you would indicate, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Remember that well.
A little less than middle of the pack this year. We're in 7 to 10. So,
all right. So, in the next segment, let's consider some of the coaches that could come through in the coming days and weeks. But there are some coaches that were declared safe. Shane Steichen with the Colts, Zach Taylor with the Bengals, and Aaron Glenn with the Jets. And so I wanted to maybe talk about these situations and lead with Aaron Glenn because I did my crossover Thursday with John Butchko last week. And I went in pretty defensive of Aaron Glenn and, Brady Cook's your quarterback. You trade away all your best players. And, just the receivers are all like brand new. Like, what could you possibly expect? And, John was like, he's like, I hear you, but there's a difference between bad and there's, being this bad, right? Where like,
no, I don't think so.
Well, I agree with you. I'm laying out the argument that I'm hearing from Jets people.
You're gonna get my chair, okay?
Well,
make
that's
the
what
argument.
They're saying. No, this is what they're saying. They're saying there's bad and then there's historically bad. There's never been a team that has a 4-game stretch of like losing by this many points, and you can look at it. The numbers support it. It's historically terrible.
The roster is historically terrible because you made it that way. It's like you're not going to get this reference, but there's people who will. You cough, clear your throat. I'm going to buy you a second here in case you need to know. It's the I think you should leave skit where the hot dog car drives through the wall and then everybody's looking around like, who drove this car through here? And then the guy pops into the frame and he's wearing a hot dog costume and he's like, yeah, who drove this car in here? We're trying to find the guy who did this. It's you. You're the ones who did this. You're the ones who traded Quinn Williams and Sauce Gardner. You're the ones who had injuries across the board with off the heels of marrying your entire roster to everybody that Aaron Rodgers had for 2 years. The entire skill group, other than Garrett Wilson, was Aaron Rodgers' buddies. Your team was flopping and you traded multiple top 100 picks for Davante Adams. And then you had to eject all that out of the system. And then injuries happen. And then you trade your 2 best players. And you wonder why. Yes, it's historically bad because you made it that way.
Right.
So give me a break about Aaron Glenn. There's not a single coach in football at any level. You could have brought back prime Bill Walsh and given him the Jets roster, and they were going to lose by 3 touchdowns on Sundays with Brady Cook at quarterback, with guys who were signed to the active roster on October 29th and November 3rd as your top 2 wide receivers, a bunch of UDFAs, like the entire secondary was UDFAs, and Malachi Moore, who's a 4th-round pick as a rookie this year. You guys, give me a break. You committed to a long-term thing. You threw yourself a parade that it happened. And then the end result of that, this is exactly what I could have told you the second half of the season was going to look like. The MVP was a kick returner that wasn't on the roster at the beginning of the year. What are we talking about? The roster sucks, but it's because you made it that way. Don't make it Aaron Glenn's fault.
Jets don't have a single player on their roster drafted between 2016 and 2020. Do you see this quote from Todd McShay? Todd McShay said
about Dante Moore and
yeah, well, it's about Dante Moore, but the quote is quote, "I promise you, no single player in this draft wants to be a New York Jet."
This is the other side of the tanking celebration, all the first round pick things, right?
Yeah.
It's you've set yourself so far back that is it worth the work that now has to go into building up the roster and the culture that takes place in the meantime?
It's a lot to figure out.
You have to have a lot of conviction to do that. And you can't get cold feet 8 weeks in after you commit to do this. You cannot. So I applaud Woody Johnson for ignoring the masses, but that's part of the challenge in New York with the New York media, right?
Yeah.
Is it's relentless. And I'm not turning this into a dump on the Jets segment, but the whole Aaron Glenn should be fired. When you zoom out and you look at what they chose to do, it is outrageous. That I get it's historically bad because your circumstances are historically bad. That's it. That's all there is to it.
I agree with you.
I think make it this way.
There's a lot of people that don't agree, but I don't think Aaron Glenn gets them any closer to turning it around.
You know what'll definitely make it better? Fire Aaron Glenn and find somebody to take the head coaching job now.
Yeah. Good luck. Honestly, good luck.
Have fun.
Because you are seeing,
and then a year and a half later, you could fire that guy and try to hire somebody else.
You are seeing this, though. You are seeing more and more coaches saying, you know what, I just can't go there. That's not going to be the place that I align. And they have Aaron Glenn who wants to be there. That was a player that, I mean, if anybody hired him last coaching cycle, they would have been celebrated. Like, this is a great choice, right?
Yeah. Now, did I think he picked some odd battles?
Sure, of course. Yeah.
He didn't help himself at sometimes, but he's a first-time head coach. That's to be part of the process too.
Yeah. All right. So coming up next, there's some lingering situations out there, or at least 4 of them, maybe 5. We'll get into that here next. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel is giving fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right. Lingering, Kyle Crabbs, lingering.
Yep.
What's the number one lingering spot that you're thinking about? Of course, Miami, but
it's probably Baltimore.
Okay.
Because I think Miami is, we're not going to move on from Mike McDaniel unless we feel there is a candidate that enters the pool that is a needle moving veteran candidate, right? And I think that could be like what ends up finalizing happening in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. Obviously, Stephen Ross has had ties to Jim Harbaugh for 15 years and made a fool of himself getting on his helicopter and flying to visit Jim Harbaugh while Tony Sparano was still the head coach of the team, right? And then he had to give Tony Sparano an extension and then fired him like in season the following year, right? Like, so those ties go back that long to Jim Harbaugh, not just because he was the head coach at Michigan. It was when he was at Stanford and, was flirting with the NFL, and then he ends up landing in San Francisco. But the connection with the Harbaugh family because of Jim Harbaugh, I think makes John Harbaugh a name that would probably move the needle if he ended up being available for the Dolphins. The other one being one of the GM candidates they're interviewing is John Eric Sullivan with the Green Bay Packers. And then Jay Glazer had kind of this oddly strange wait and see what happens Matt LaFleur, where there's a couple different variables that chime in there, where like Adam Schefter was talking about it on ESPN about needing a new contract. He's going into a contract year. What happens if the Packers lose in the wild card round? I guess, and that was what I said, remind me to come back to this in segment 3. ESPN's Rob Demovsky reported the Packers are going to change their front office structure, in which the head coach is going to report to the general manager of the team.
Geez. It's a movement.
So the Packers, they had a CEO change, team president change last year. Sounds like they're considering this structural change to put the head coach reporting to Brian Gutekunst as the general manager of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Does that influence Matt LaFleur's appetite? Are they negotiating and they have to negotiate a new contract deal? Adam Schefter yesterday said if they can get a deal done, it's a non-talking point in his future secure there. If they can't figure out a contract that works for both sides, then you have to ask yourself, are they willing to let him go into the last year of his deal? So like there's some business stuff there. I don't think that will come to a head, in which case I think that will probably stay status quo and Miami would probably stay status quo as a result. But those are some of the lingering storylines. Yeah. And I think the Green Bay element of it, there's a couple prongs that make it interesting to watch if they flop in Chicago this weekend.
Tampa's another one, obviously, with Todd Bowles, who came out and said that he thinks he deserves to be the head coach. He wants to continue there despite, what looked like a pretty beat-up dude as the season moved along this year. So we'll see what Tampa does. And so, you kind of laid it out there that Miami is possible, but potentially dependent on what happens in Baltimore or Green Bay. And of course, what happens maybe with the Dolphins' own general manager search and what, that brings to fruition. So it feels like the obvious lingering places: Miami, Baltimore, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Can I throw one out there that maybe nobody's thinking about?
Yeah.
But every time that you've come on here and you said there's this Green Bay thing, and you mentioned Schefter talking about it on Sunday Countdown, they're doing the same thing with McDermott in Buffalo. It's the same thing, right? Like, and Jeremy Fowler, who I think has probably been the most plugged in with Bill Scoops, is kind of said the same.
Fowler's great, man. Like, I think he's really underrated as an insider.
He gets it every time, and it's not like Sean McDermott's on the hot seat, but it's that thought that if the Bills go out and flop, if they go to Jacksonville and get smoked, which I can't tell you that's not in the realm of possibilities. Does this inspire a change? I don't think so. I'd be very surprised. But if we're going to talk about LaFleur through that same lens, I think we got to apply the same courtesy to the Bills and Sean McDermott.
Yeah. Which, it's fascinating to have like stakes like that on top of what's already a high stakes tournament, right? To know like some guys might have that little extra added pressure of uncertainty. And I think that's why you see a couple of teams like maybe Tampa Bay and Miami, like maybe they are slow playing what their true intentions are. But I think the most likely thing to happen is that those candidates all stay where they're at.
I think so. Yeah. McDermott, LaFleur, Harbaugh would have jobs very quickly.
Yeah. And my instinct is that we are done.
You think the six we have are the six we're getting?
The six we have are the six. And maybe we should have led with that because we got into some big brain stuff here.
No, then nobody was that. Then you got to stop listening there. It's
right.
No
but
fun.
They stopped listening the moment they heard us invoke John Harbaugh's leaving Baltimore or Sean McDermott's leaving Buffalo, right?
So how do you move forward if you are Baltimore, man? Like, we're going to do the Levy Grail for them this week, as well as what other team? Tampa Bay. Yeah. Really good football team, talented. They win a lot of games, but the catastrophic losses, just the impossible to reconcile losses, don't stop. Mm-hmm. They just don't. What do you do, man? You just stay as good as you can for as long as you can and try to get lucky along the way, or what's happening here?
I think that's kind of been the thing, right? And they've generally done a good job of being very relevant. What was this, John Harbaugh's third losing season in 18 years?
He's been terrific. There's a great resume to point to.
And you could talk about the playoff issues. And I know that the Super Bowl run happened very early in his career. They're 13-11 in postseason under John Harbaugh. Like, not bad.
Right.
I know
how many
lot
teams
of
have won 13 playoff games in that stretch? Probably not many, dude. Kyle's like, oh, well, thanks for asking. I will get that information.
Give you a minute or two, and I'll tell you. Wins in the playoffs. John Harbaugh's 7th all-time.
Yeah.
In playoff wins.
13.
Tied with Mike Holmgren. The 6 names in front of John Harbaugh. Chuck Noll, Joe Gibbs, Don Shula, Tom Landry, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick. That is it. Those are the only coaches with more playoff wins than John Harbaugh.
What's the rest of the top 10?
So Belichick in order. Belichick 31, Reid 28, Tom Landry 20, Don Shula 19, Joe Gibbs 17, Chuck Noll 16, John Harbaugh and Mike Holmgren each with 13, Tom Coughlin and Bill Cowher with 12 at 9 and 10.
Wow.
The next active coach is Pete Carroll with 11, Sean Payton with 9, Mike Tomlin with 8, Sean McVay with 8, Kyle Shanahan with 8, Sean McDermott with 7 active coaches. So I get it, but at the same time, like, come on now. How many wins did Andy Reid have when he left Philly? How many playoff wins do you think Andy Reid had when he left Philly? I'm counting them right now. So think about it for a minute and let me know.
Oh, he was there a million years. They went to like 4 NFC championship games. It had to be a decent amount. I would say he's had 9 or 10.
He had 10 wins in the playoffs in Philadelphia by the time he left. Had 1 NFC championship, had 4 NFC championship game appearances.
Yeah.
And then he went from 2008 to 2015 with no playoff wins in that stretch. And from 2008 to 2018, he had 1 playoff win in a 10-year window.
I think what Ravens fans are saying to you right now is that what changed is he got Patrick Mahomes. And I think Ravens fans probably look at Lamar Jackson as that type of quarterback.
I think Lamar Jackson's a phenomenal quarterback, but
he's also got to be better in the playoffs.
Right. It's been everything. There's been defensive letdowns. There's been quarterback letdowns. There's been mental error letdowns. There's been coaching letdowns. It's been all of it. Right. So that's tough. Tough circumstances to be in. That's going to do it for us here today on the show. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out Locked on NFL Scouting. Come back, see us again tomorrow. We're out of here for the day, and we'll talk to you all again soon.